Today, as it has for millions of years, this fierce apex predator, the great white shark, is locked in a struggle for survival with the Cape Fur seal. The stakes could not be higher. It's one of nature's ultimate evolutionary matchups. A game of life and death one-upsmanship, all seen as it's never been seen before through the eyes of Predator. The great white shark and Cape Fur seal are well-matched adversaries. But on this occasion, the white shark executes a perfect attack. He comes up like a missile at nearly 40 kilometers per hour. An assault so explosive, he literally breaches 3 meters out of the water. With his 50 saw-edged blades, he takes a chunk out of the seal's flank, severing her femoral artery. The seal is mortally wounded, but isn't dead. It's now that the shark does something completely counterintuitive. He lets go. A desperate and dying seal will attack with her canines and claws. And this shark knows he can be severely injured. So he backs off, waits, and lets the seal bleed to death. Today, this shark's strategy and maneuvers won him a meal. But he wasn't always this successful. The quest to become the ultimate predator didn't happen overnight.
First year of a white shark's life is by far the most dangerous. From the time it's born, it gets nothing from its mom. No food, no protection.
The first year is dangerous for any animal, but there's up to a 70% chance a baby great white won't make it to his first birthday. The biggest risk is starvation.
The learning curve for a baby white shark is pretty steep. Learning to find food becomes absolutely essential for survival. So a lot of times, that's why we find them eating things that lay on the bottom, easy things to catch.
Not only does he have to find enough food to survive, at this age, bigger and faster predators see him as prey. Mako sharks, orcas, even adult great white sharks could have him for dinner. Every day is a struggle for the young shark, but he survives, eating nothing but small fish. Against great odds, he makes it into his 7th year. His body's gone through massive changes. At birth, he was 1.2 meters. But growing nearly 0.3 meters each year, his frame stretches to 3.4 meters. He's 350 kilograms, 16 times his birth weight. But the most significant change is happening in his mouth. Until now, he had narrow and pointy teeth, good for catching slippery fish. But over the past year, his teeth have broadened 1 centimeter to become the perfect size to bite and tear through flesh, cartilage, and bone. He's got everything he needs to be a predator, except experience, and he's about to get it. Up ahead, he sees something enormous. He keeps advancing, even though all his instincts are screaming to flee. But something drives him forward, something he smells, something irresistible. This is by far the riskiest thing he's ever done. It could cost him his life.
As they get bigger, occasionally they'll come across carcasses. Dead whales, dead seals, and they're too small to be able to capture these on their own, but they scavenge them. And what they get is a taste.
It's a taste that will change his life forever. Marine mammal flesh. But this isn't just about the flavor. His new supersized body needs the calories. The blubber-rich meat gives him 8 times as many calories per kilogram than fish meat. In fact, this over 22-kilogram meal of whale blubber has over 210,000 calories, enough to last him about 6 weeks. He's one step closer to hunting the prey he was meant to hunt, the Cape Fur seal. But he spends the next month searching for another carcass, another taste. But he comes up with nothing. Always moving and never sleeping, his body burns through 5,000 calories a day. He's hungry. But suddenly, he's distracted from his hunger by a rumbling in the distance. And he hears it building. These vibrations are extremely faint. But to him, they sound loud and clear. His ears are actually inside his head, insulating them from the white noise of ocean water passing over them. His ears pick up very low-frequency sounds in a range nearly 200 times lower than a human can hear. And he can hear the sound of something moving in the water over 1.6 kilometers away. As he approaches the sound, he smells something familiar, reminiscent of the dead whale. It's the unmistakable scent of mammal blood. But this isn't a whale at all. It's smaller, and it's no carcass. It's moving. But it's injured, and his flesh is decomposing, which is how he makes the association. Then, he sees dozens of other things just like this one. And suddenly, he finds himself in a place that will change his life forever. Seal Island, just off the coast of South Africa. Home to 70,000 Cape Fur seals. He's burned through 160,000 of the 210,000 calories he gained from eating the whale carcass. So he wastes no time picking out a target. He spots a group of seals swimming near him and approaches them from below. He rises slowly, gaining speed with each sweep of his massive tail. Something's wrong. He's been spotted, and the seals launch into a dizzying defense. Pure, cold-blooded instinct should have won him this meal. But he's in way over his head.
These seals are incredibly fast, they're very agile, and if they see or sense a white shark coming, they can easily outmaneuver it.
So how do these seals easily elude this fierce apex predator? By using one of nature's most impressive countermeasures, fountaining. As the young shark starts his assault from below, he sees the multiple seals on the surface as one singular body and aims right for the center of it. But the seals are on the lookout, and once they're aware they're under attack, each one moves directly away from the center of the circle, creating what looks like a fountain. The shark hesitates. A mere fraction of a second is all the seals need to gain the advantage. And this shark, burning through precious calories, comes away with nothing. His botched attempt has put the seals on high alert. The young shark has not only jeopardized his own livelihood, he's interfered with that of other great whites who have come to Seal Island to get in on the action. The dozen or so white sharks in the area begin to swim away, presumably to find food elsewhere. Our young shark follows, watching. In this age-old struggle, the great white's physical prowess isn't its only advantage. What makes this killer so scary is that he's learned to employ psychology in his hunting strategies.
The seals, once they're up on the rock, they're safe from the sharks, right? So what would a good shark do? Just cruise back and forth along that area where all the seals are hanging out, or back away and see if moving away will allow some of the seals to come back into the water.
The more experienced sharks swim offshore and then wait. The deception works. The seals come back into the water. The sharks creep back to the island silently. And our young shark peels off from the group. He hears something in the distance. He's located two seals nearly half a kilometer away, swimming on their own. But as he gets close, 9 meters, something else helps to direct him. He's sensing them, amazingly, with his lateral line. The lateral line runs down both sides of a shark from nose to tail, turning his body into a super seismograph. The fluid-filled canals in his lateral line system operate like a string of motion sensors, and they can detect pressure changes caused by infinitesimal vibrations in the water. Vibrations depressing his skin by as little as 0.03 millimeters. Thinner than a seal's whisker.
So as the seal flaps in the water, it's displacing water molecules that move through the water at a certain distance, and we call this near-field sound. And it's actually detecting vibrations of water using its lateral line. So the lateral line on a white shark runs all along the nose, along the mouth, and all the way down along the side of the body to the tail. So the shark is using it to detect vibrations on the side. So imagine yourself in a dark room and somebody brushes by you and you feel the hairs on your arm begin to move on one side. You know that something moved by you on one side. The shark's lateral line tells it the same information.
At 9 meters away, the two seals come into view. He approaches them, ready for his first kill. But he suddenly changes course. Something has happened. It's so powerful, he's willing to give up what it's taken him a lifetime to find. It could be a meal, or it could cost him his life. His hyper-receptive nose picks up a scent. It's so enticing, he's willing to abandon 2 potential meals to pursue it. That's because nearly 1/3 of a shark's brain is dedicated to his nose. His olfactory apparatus is so sensitive, he can detect blood in the water in a concentration of 1 part per billion. That's the equivalent of detecting a single person in an area twice the size of the island of Manhattan. And this aroma is the blood of a freshly killed seal.
Imagine you have a hamburger patty. Well, it doesn't smell like very much, but you put it on the grill and it starts to cook, and suddenly it smells very appealing. When a shark smells an odor in the water, what they're smelling are amino acids. The ratio of those amino acids in the water tell the shark something about the state of its prey, whether it's dead, freshly killed, or if it's alive. When a seal is freshly killed, that suddenly smells like a cooking hamburger to a shark.
Another shark has made this kill. A larger female shark. Our young great white naively thinks he can get a piece of the action.
Sharks have to be efficient at capturing their prey. They have to be efficient at protecting the amount of energy that they've invested in capturing that prey. And therefore, if another shark comes in and tries to take it from them, they'll fight them off.
But he's starving, with little caloric reserves left from the dead whale he ate nearly 5 weeks ago. And out of desperation, he's persistent in trying to steal the seal carcass. It's shark versus shark. He heads straight for the female. Like 2 locomotives gathering speed, they barrel down on each other at 40 kilometers per hour each. Neither predator wanting to flinch. But at the last possible moment, surrender. So how did our young shark lose without sustaining a scratch? Because this battle, like most others between great whites, was settled before it even began. It's a very strict pecking order based on posture, aggression, and most of all, size.
Most sharks have body language that reveals information about you're in my space or I'm bigger than you better back off. Usually bigger sharks get what they want and the smaller ones get pushed out of the way. When it comes to food and getting a good meal that may have to last you a month, they're not good about sharing. So a good analogy is you take 10 people in a room, you put a sandwich out on the table, and if people are full, they might take a small piece. Leave them in that room for 2 weeks, and that's the only food. And people lose a lot of their diplomatic sense and will become actually very competitive and will fight over a scrap of food.
And a female, because she's usually bigger, will most likely dominate a male. So why do sharks put such a focus on rank? Surprisingly, it's actually to avoid combat. They're such heavily armed predators that to fight one another means risking death for one of them. And the risk just isn't worth the reward. So our young shark, much smaller than the female that made the kill, must give up the fight. He's tired and getting hungrier. He's starting to fade. He came across the whale carcass nearly 6 weeks ago. And it isn't going to sustain him much longer. He needs a fatty diet and the vital calories that go with it. Luckily, several seals are back in the water. And he spots a target. He's learned not to try attacking a group of seals. This time, he's locked in on only one. He rises quickly from the depths with a seal in his sights. But right before he reaches it, it's gone. He scans the horizon. Nothing. He turns around. He even searches below. But the seal has vanished. Our shark is frustrated. How did the seal pull off this disappearing act? This death-defying countermeasure is made possible by the shark's critical mistake. He's been spotted. A great white is a near-perfect stealth hunter, and one of the biggest reasons is his skin. It's counter-shaded. The lower portion blends with the water's light surface when seen from below. And the upper portion blends with the ocean floor when viewed from above. Our shark is nearly invisible, except when he's surfacing. But as he attacks the seal from below, the shark exposes his white underbelly too soon. The white flash warned the seal. Who then has time for a daring countermeasure. As the shark approaches, the seal makes an evasive move and ends up directly behind the shark's dorsal fin. The shark completely loses sight of her. The seal has tucked itself into the shark's blind spot. It's a maneuver called staying on the shark. And it's the best way for her to steer clear of the shark's razor-sharp teeth.
This probably goes on until it gives the seal an opportunity to break away and safely either rejoin a group or quickly get to the beach.
Frustrated and exhausted, the shark abandons the chase. His failed attack has come at a price. In this brief chase, he expends precious calories pursuing the crafty seal. It's been 6 weeks since he took in 210,000 calories from the whale carcass. And now, all of that energy is gone.
If a shark is unsuccessful at capturing a seal at Seal Island, it may have to go somewhere else to find something to eat or run the risk of starvation.
It's a critical moment in the life of a young hunter. Fortunately, this predator has a reserve fuel tank.
When a shark eats a meal, whatever it doesn't use that day gets put into storage, and that storage is the liver. So that's where it'll store some of those nutrients, and particularly those lipids, that it will use to make it more buoyant, but it will use that as a bank for later if it runs out of energy.
Made up of 2 enormous lobes, a shark's liver comprises nearly 10% of its entire body weight. And these lobes are full of calorie-rich oil, well over 100 pounds of it. But what's amazing is that since oil is lighter than water, a shark's oil-rich liver is actually what keeps it afloat. So burning his liver's oil will keep him alive, but he's losing buoyancy by the minute. If he doesn't make a kill soon, he'll continue to sink. He'll have to work harder to swim. And now, on the brink of starvation, working harder is the last thing he needs. Desperate for a meal, and even more desperate for a way to get one, our young shark sets out to learn any way he can.
One theory that we have is that these kind of subadult white sharks may be learning how to capture marine mammals by watching other white sharks do it.
From a safe distance, he watches as an older white shark takes a position 18 meters below a fur seal. Close enough to see the seal clearly, but far enough for a perfect sneak attack. But the seal seems wary, and the older shark waits for what seems like an eternity. But soon, the seal lets down her guard and relaxes.
An experienced shark has to make the right strike at the right time. And that can be the difference between a successful attack and an unsuccessful one.
The older shark begins his ascent. This is one of nature's most impressive feats, the white shark breach. So how does a 2.3 metric ton fish propel itself 3 meters out of the water? It starts with his skin. It's highly elastic. So when his body bends, his skin stretches, then releases like a slingshot, back and forth, over and over again. Nearly 3/4 of his muscle mass is made up of what's called white muscle. With its interlocking fibers, it's capable of giving the shark incredible power in short bursts. So he can fire out of the water, with 10 times the energy of a bullet from a .44 Magnum. And with a perfectly streamlined body, this predator can swim faster than the fastest human can sprint on land. And easily cutting through the water at that speed produces one of the most powerful and acrobatic assaults on the planet. After watching the older shark, our young shark finally has the last piece of the puzzle. He needs to be patient and surprise his prey. Immediately, he picks up a familiar scent and sound. He locks in on a course and swims quietly until a seal begins to come into view. At medium to close range, his eyes become his most important sense. He waits 18 meters below the seal. At first, the seal's hyper-aware of her surroundings. But she finally relaxes. This shark knows it's time to strike. The explosive ambush has caught the seal completely off guard. The shark is locked in, but at the final, crucial moment, his eyes roll back into his head. This shark has waited a lifetime for this, and now, for the last few centimeters between him and his prey, he's literally blind. He now must rely on a sense that humans could never imagine, called electroreception. Any muscular movement or twitch in a living creature creates small electrical fields. And sharks sense the tiniest changes in these fields, with an electrically conductive jelly in the pores peppered along their head. So when the seal tries one more desperate escape attempt, the shark is locked in. The shark launches through the air and tears through the seal's flesh with his razor-sharp teeth. He's finally made a successful attack, but he still hasn't won himself a meal. His next moves are critical. The seal is wounded and bleeding and has only one option left: to claw and scratch so fiercely that she injures the shark and scares him off. But our shark has learned the art of patience.
The seal's big enough, the shark will release it and then circle it and wait for the seal to bleed out. If the shark just waits a little while, it becomes an easy meal.
But how long can he wait? Other sharks smell the blood.
If a shark waits, it runs the risk, if other sharks are around, of losing its meal. So it's this trade-off between, do I run the risk of getting bitten or scratched, get my eyes damaged? or do I run the risk of actually losing my meal?
It takes everything in his power to just wait and watch the seal bleed out. But within minutes, he can actually feel the oncoming sharks. The seal looks dead, but is it? Lucky for him, the seal has no fight left. After failure and more failure, he's finally a successful hunter. He rips into his catch with some of the strongest jaws on the planet. A bite that can generate nearly 2 metric tons of force. And it doesn't matter if he breaks one of his 50 teeth, because he may go through 30,000 in a lifetime. A new row of teeth pops right through the skin about every 20 days, each one bigger than the one it replaces. He eats as quickly as he can as the sharks continue to charge. But he consumes the entire seal in a matter of minutes. So as the others arrive, there's nothing left to steal. On this day, the shark wins himself a meal. He won't be successful on all his future hunts. The average shark at Seal Island catches his prey on 47% of its attempts. The sharks that learn to anticipate a seal's moves and hone their hunting skills with trial and error learning might enjoy an 80% success rate. But where he'll go from here and why is still largely a mystery. He may visit Seal Island each May. He might even migrate more than 20,000 kilometers from South Africa to Australia and back.
We know a lot more about space than we do about the ocean. Most of the things we know about are found close to shore. The further you get out in the ocean, the harder it is to study.
And because he lurks so silently, we often don't know when or where to look.
You don't get to be a good predator by making your presence known. So my guess is most people that spend a lot of time in the water have probably had a white shark swim right by them and they didn't even know it.